to learn about
As someone who have been called the most educated psychiatrist in the United States, I can take the liberty to actually make what is so obvious become even more obvious. And this is just telling everybody there is a reason behind everything we do, whether this reason may be unconscious or conscious. Welcome to the Sweet Institute. Whether you are a clinician as a social worker or a psychiatrist, whether you are a mental health counselor or a primary care doctor, whether you are a psychologist or a nurse practitioner or a surgeon, a PA or just a tech, there is a reason, either conscious or unconscious, that led us to work with individuals. I remember once upon a time, as a primary care physician, I actually used to see so many patients who would come to me with high blood sugar, high blood pressure, and because they would have failed to either remember to take their medications, or they would have failed to actually follow my recommendations to really make some lifestyle modifications. In other words, that diet that they needed to change, that exercise regimen they would need to start, it never happened. I would still just sit there wondering, saying to myself, how can I actually really help these individuals that I really want to help, unless I can help them to make changes in their behaviors? That took me into psychiatry and neurology. Now, as a general adult psychiatrist, I would be seeing adults from all ages, and one after another. Each time I would ask myself, what would have it look like had I been given the opportunity to see that person when he or she was 5, 7, 15? What could have I done differently? How could this person's life have been any different? And actually, that really took me to think about prevention, and that took me to child and adolescent psychiatry. As a child and adolescent psychiatrist, I was privileged to actually work with a variety of patient population, with a variety of individuals. I'll be taking care of the children of the faculty members at MIT, children of the faculty members at Harvard, but also I had a population that I would be taking care of that would be made of African American, Haitian population, and many different population whose first language would be either Spanish or Portuguese. Now, here's what happened. Sometimes, once in a while, I would get a call that one of those adolescent patients of mine would actually get arrested. How do I help the mother, often enough, just just by herself, no husband in the house? How would I help her navigate this system to actually help them understand how to speak with the probation officer, what to expect in court? I needed to actually be able to do that. That took me into forensic psychiatry. As a forensic psychiatrist, I actually made sure that I work with both adults and children and adolescents while taking classes at the law school. And I really decided to focus on something known as reentry while really working in jail and prison, but making sure that when they come back to the community, they actually get settled, and then they don't go back to jail or prison. But guess what? That was not happening. Many of them, right away, they would go back, and I would then be curious and find out, what is that about? Here's my discovery. 70 to 80% of all of them had an underlying substance use disorder. Now, as you can guess, that then took me to ask myself, The best way for me to keep them out of jail and prison is to address their substance use disorder. How can I do that unless I actually really know exactly well how to do it? I became an addictionologist. Now, as an addiction or substance use doctor, I would be seeing so many individuals, and I started to realize that there was something known as social determinants that needed to be tackled. I remember I was working with a very, very wise war veteran gentleman in his 60s with PTSD, alcohol use disorder, and cocaine use disorder. We helped him stop using cocaine. We helped him actually, even with alcohol use disorder, we helped them very well with his PTSD symptoms. But a few months later, I started getting calls from the shelter telling me that so-and-so was getting in fight at the shelter. When I met with them, I started to get that conversation with them. After a few minutes, he looked at me and told me, Dr. Sador, have you ever been in a shelter? Do you know what it likes to be in a shelter? I stopped and think. And he told me, the only reason why I am here and still alive is because of really thanks to my alcohol that allows me to just go on in that situation. I had ideas of social determinants of health, but this conversation got me. And I said to myself, in order for me to really make a difference, I need to make sure that the system is looked at. We need to make sure that all of these things get really integrated. Yes, that took me to studying more administrative psychiatry, public health, looking at really all the system as a whole, leadership and all this. And by the time I was actually in my third setting as medical director, I've been seeing so much when really speaking with clinicians, supervising them, and over those complaints would come up. I feel overwhelmed. I feel burnt out. I feel sometimes I cannot focus to take care of my patients and clients. I don't really have the time for that. And then me as also not just clinician, not just supervisor, not just a support, but also as an executive, I know what's going on. With the agencies where once you have one specific grant, you need to be ready to go to the next grant so that you can stay afloat. So the agency itself needs to really stay afloat. Then the staff, the clinicians are not really supported, and there is the parallel process where our patients and clients, that population that took us here, that main reason why we are here, they're not getting the support. And then I realized there is no way we can really make a difference in the lives of our patients and clients unless we support those who are taking care of them, which are clinicians and also the agencies. And there is no way we really can make that difference unless we together put our heads together to look at how we can get what the system is not getting us. This is how the SWIT really, what's behind the SWIT Institute. The SWIT Institute stands for supporting well-being through empowerment, education, and training. We believe that instead of giving people a fish, we actually teach them how to fish. We empower each one of us through training, through education, through a different type of thinking. Now, here's something that actually have really learned with time, and many people would say the same thing. When we want to change the world, when we want to make a difference in the world, sometimes we get paralyzed by thinking that we need to start big. Starting small is the way to go. And each one of you today can start small by becoming a SWIT member. As a SWIT member, you join that community where we can be united towards one common cause, which is getting what the system is not doing for us, getting to do for our patients and clients what the system is not doing for us, helping ourselves as clinicians, giving to ourselves, giving to our agencies what the system is not giving us. Now, as a clinician, as any professional, we do know that 10% of our salary should go to personal development, should go to really our career by really through books, reading books, buying books, going to conferences, getting those webinars. The suite membership is only 15%, $15, only $15 a month. And if you have a yearly membership, that's you get actually 2 months off, which happens to be $150, right, instead of $180. Whether you are making the least amount, let's just say $40,000 a year, $150 is actually 0.5, half of the 1% of that salary. And I'm saying for us to grow in our career, whether we actually, this is true for any profession, attorneys, business men, actors, and clinicians, at least 10% of our salary needs to go towards our personal development. What do you have with just $15 a month or $150 a year with the suite membership? You have unlimited access to webinars. What are those webinars about? Anything you imagine that comes about the soft skills, engagement, working with children and adolescents, working with individuals who've been traumatized, working with homeless individuals, working with families, anything, how to help those who go through pain and loss, all the types of diagnosis, but more importantly, thinking critically in clinical care. In other words, the suite paradigm that we started to work talking about last week, and we're gonna continue to talk about next week. The suite formula, the framework. Going forward, you get to learn a framework for every single thing you do in your career, in your clinical care, and you're gonna be able to have a framework and be very flexible, know how to tailor, how to individualize care. Every single thing we want to do start with a small step, and today this is your chance to take that step. Join us, and we look forward to welcoming you. Go to sweetinstitute.com. On the right corner, you'll see Become a Member. Become a member. Become a member. You will actually be glad you made that decision today. Don't think about it. Do it. And we look forward to really talk to you, to hear what you really want to do so that you can increase the help you're giving to your patients and clients. You can actually grow personally, professionally, help your agencies, and really have a meaningful career and make a difference in the world. We love you very much. Thank you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again next Sunday at the same time. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye.